October 27. That date is on every Israeli channel right now. Almost every headline, every conversation. Election Day in Israel 2026. And the thing I have never been able to explain to anyone here in the US is that on that day, the beaches are going to be full. If we haven't met before, my name is Inbal Amit. I am a born and raised Israeli, and I've been simplifying Hebrew to English speakers and living in the States for years. Every time an election comes up, I am struck by how differently the same act can look in two countries. So let me walk you through what that day actually looks like in Israel, giving you the most important word you need in Hebrew as we go. Election Day in Israel is a national holiday, a real paid one. Nobody goes to work, schools are closed, so the kids are home too, and schools are actually part of the voting process. We'll get there in a minute. So the whole country is off. Voting takes about 2 minutes if there are no lines, and lines or no lines are almost random or luck since everyone has the day off and each voter is assigned a specific school near their place of residence. Then the rest of the day is yours. So people go to the beach, the malls are packed, there are barbecues on the grass. From the outside, it looks like a day off because it is one. After I moved to the States and election day was coming up in America, I asked my husband a question I thought was very reasonable. If election day is not a day off, how do people vote? Most people are at work. I think he looked at me like I'm asking something strange, and he just said, you go before work on your lunch break, or you stand in line after work. I am so used to the Israeli day off that it's still so odd to me. So here's how the voting process looks like. There is no early voting for the general public. The one exception is state employees posted abroad because of their work, along with their spouses and children if they're allowed to vote. They vote at Israeli embassies and consulates a few days earlier. If you're abroad for any other reason, like yours truly, travel, studies, work, living there, you cannot vote from where you are. You come to Israel that day, making sure that you are registered as a voter or you don't vote. The place each voter in Israel is designated to vote in most cases, a school, is called a polling station. And in Hebrew, kalpi. The same word is used for the school serving as a polling station and the ballot box itself. Both are kalpi, and in plural, kalpiot. Outside the school, expect it to look and feel like a political scene on steroids. Posters everywhere, people from every party standing there with stacks of paper in their hands, trying to do some last-minute convincing or just to show presence. By law, there is no campaigning at the polling place, which is the parameter of the school, or within 5 meters of the gate. There is actually somebody who is measuring that with their eyes all day long. So you walk through all that noise, you cross the line, entering the gates of the school, and it stops. In the no campaigning zone, which is inside the school, you can't hang a sign, hand out material, or even walk around with a party shirt. Although I'm not sure that they're enforcing the last part. The word for a political party is miflaga. Miflaga in singular, miflagot in plural. Miflagot, political party, political parties. And then you're inside the school, except it's full of adults. Once you enter the school, which is usually the yard, there is a table or two that is information, asking you for your identification card. In Hebrew, Teudat Zehut, that is our ID, although we can also show a passport. In Hebrew, Darkon, and the voter invitation you get in the mail if you have it. If you're in the right place and your ID is valid, they then send you to your designated classroom where you vote. Grown people in the hallways where the kids usually are, standing outside classroom doors, checking the numbers, trying to find your classroom, walking past the artwork taped to the walls, and if it's a busy hour, there's a line down the corridor. You find your room. You hand over your ID again to the people sitting at the desk in that classroom. They cross you off their long list, which means that you voted, hand you an envelope, in Hebrew, ma'atafa, 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 and point you at the piece of cardboard standing on a desk, usually at the other end of the room. That is your voting booth. Behind the cardboard, there's a tray, and in that tray, there are little pieces of paper. These are the voting slips. You take the one that you want to vote for, you put it in the envelope, make sure that you put the right one and that you only put one voting slip so you don't get disqualified. You do not seal the envelope. You walk back to the committee and you drop the envelope in the box. That is voting. 2 minutes if there are no lines. Any piece of paper or a slip or a note is called in Hebrew petek. 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 And a voting slip is called petek hatzba'ah. Petek hatzba'ah, a voting slip. Printed on each voting slips are letters between 1 to 3 Hebrew letters, printed big. And underneath, in small writing, whatever that list party registered. Usually the party name in Hebrew, sometimes a slogan, in many cases, the name of whoever heads it. So why use letters and not just write the name of the list or the party on the voting slip? In Israel, every party running has to carry its own Hebrew letters, so you can tell it apart from all the others. That's been true since 1949. And here's what I find fascinating about this. These letters are fossils. When parties merge, their letters usually merge with them. So the paper in your hand, the voting slip, is a receipt from merges that happened decades ago. Take the Likud, for example, Netanyahu's party. Its letters are Mem, Chet, Lamed. We say it Machal. Mem, Chet, Lamed. The party name is Halikud, and it was established in 1973 as a joint list of several parties, mainly Cherut, that does not exist anymore. That is where their Chet comes from the party called Cherut. The Liberal Party, Hamiflaga Haliberalית, that also doesn't exist anymore, gave them the letter Lamed, and their Mem letter stands for smaller movements that folded into Halikud party. Those original parties don't exist anymore. Their letters outlived them. So now you may be thinking, fine, but the name of the party is printed right there underneath the letters. Why do we still use the letters? In case the voting slips run out. If the party you want to vote for has no voting slips in the tray you're facing behind that cardboard, you're allowed to take a white empty slip and write the party letters yourself. You can write the party name as well, but only the letters count as your voting slip. If the slips did not run out, but you placed in your envelope an official printed voting slip with any mark on it, any writing, a tear, a dot, or more than one slip, it will be disqualified. Crumbled or folded voting slip is okay. And as we just said, a blank voting slip with the Hebrew letter or letters of a party that is running in these elections in clear handwriting is acceptable too. Polls close at 10 at night, and every channel in Israel puts its numbers on the screen and the entire country watches. Now, nothing is final that night, but everybody watches anyway. So that's the day. Paper slips and cardboard screens and schools full of adults in a country that takes the entire day off to make sure it is very easy for everyone to vote. And the part I really love about those letters that represent decades and decades of everything that came before them. That is what I love about Hebrew. It isn't only a language you speak. It's a place where everything that already happened is still sitting there in the letters, waiting for someone to notice. That is how I teach it, not vocabulary lists and boring grammar rules. The language as it actually lives with everything underneath it. If that's the Hebrew you want, check out my programs in the description and make sure you're subscribed to my channel right here and clicking the bell so you never miss the next videos and lessons. And speaking of the next videos and lessons, let me know in the comment if you want me to do an extensive video lesson on all the election-related vocabulary that you need to know in order to actually follow the news in Hebrew. Thank you so much for watching. Toda rabba, and I will see you in the next video. נתראה בסרטון הבא.